also very, very closely watching what's been happening, and we'll get him into this conversation. But Dr. Sivan, I'm going to come back to you in just a moment. Dr. Jitendra Singh, sir, thank you for speaking to us on Republic. We were just having this conversation with Mr. Sivan, who actually led Chandrayaan-3, and he says this is the moment for India, sir. How anxious are you also, because you've been very keenly watching all the updates, looking at all the pictures and speaking to us. So how do you feel today at this very historic moment, sir?
Yeah, thank you for having me there. I think to add to what you're saying, and also to qualify what Dr. Sivan was saying, this is an anxious moment if it is not only for India but for the entire world. Because I think the best part of this mission is that, of course, everyone in India is looking up to this mission with a huge amount of enthusiasm, inquisitiveness, curiosity, but equally much is the expectation by the other countries as well, because this is a mission, and particularly Chandrayaan series is known to bring home findings and also inputs which were not earlier available to the rest of the world. In spite of the fact that they started their space journey much before us, several decades before us. But remember, it was Chandrayaan-1 which brought the evidence of the presence of water molecules on the surface of Moon, which startled the world for the first time, prompted the world scientific community to find scientific answers to the mysteries of the yore, the mysteries that had stirred generation after generation about the possibility or no possibility of the human life being possible on the surface of Moon. And something which was a subject of fiction, literature, poetry, fantasy all these years became a serious subject of scientific research. So Chandrayaan has a legacy and a history which is exclusive to it. And now, as we are going to land close to the solar pole, which is rather a virgin area, which was not traversed by any of the earlier missions, obviously the inputs that are received or obtained from there will be equally as much more relevant and useful, or also applicable for some of the more premier institutions like NASA, because they too would be basing quite a few of their future space plans on the inputs and the findings received from Chandrayaan-3. So to that extent, this becomes a world mission, even though it's being indigenous. So in the true sense, it's a reflection of Atmanirbhar Bharat catering to the rest of the world, like vaccine produced from India and being utilized and being weaned off by the rest of the world. So I think Chandrayaan-3 has reaffirmed also India's position as a frontline nation in the world. No longer is India is treated as a country which hardly has anything to do with some of the more sophisticated subjects like clean energy, climate, space, etc. Nor is it seen anymore only as an equal partner. It's rather a partner which is also capable of lending cues and valuable leads in more ways than one.
Oh, yes. And Dr. Singh, even as we're having this conversation, sir, I mean, I'm just going to request our team to also put our images that, we've been seeing from ISRO. This is of the moon coming in from the lander. And these are stunning pictures. And one would say that, India has done so far better than a lot of other countries who are far more developed, who have more money, who spend more time, effort, on such missions. So that is why I think India today has a chance to lead by example. And like you said, our mission perhaps is far superior than the rest of the other countries, sir.
Yeah, to that extent, if you permit me, I would just like to add over there, with all the humility at my command. I said, if you, at that point in time, if you permit me, I'd like to add over there, with all the humility at my command, on behalf of the entire scientific fraternity of the country. This, as you rightly mentioned, this has been a quantum jump. Having started much later, we have taken over the other countries of comet par with them. And this has been largely possible because Prime Minister Modi provided us with an enabling milieu. Just remember, this could have hardly been imagined till about a few years ago. Now, for example, on the 14th of July, when this launching happened in City Harikota, me, Dr. Sivan, and many others were there, we had about 1,000 media persons watching this live, physically close to the site of the launch. Whereas
Oh, yes.
till a few years back or 4 years back, a media person was not even allowed to peep inside the gate of the Sriharikota. So unlocking the gates of Sriharikota is one of the biggest hallmarks of the last 9 or 10 years of the government led by Prime Minister Modi, and the manner in which he's shown this capacity to break the taboos of the past has actually enabled all this happening, because there was huge talent waiting. There was no dearth of talent. There was no dearth of diligence. There were dreams in the eyes of our scientists. We had Sarabhai working with meager resources, carrying launches on the carriers of the bicycles. Prime Minister Modi opened up this sector to the private sector, and within 3 or 4 years, we have more than 150 startups working in collaboration with ISRO. We have a huge lot of private funding coming in. We are now launching, we are also now contributing to another interesting emerging area of space economy. We are launching satellites from Europe. We have earned as much as more than 200 billion euros by launching simply European satellites. So I think this huge transformational change, which countrymen need to understand, they need to be told, has happened because we had everything at our command as far as our scientific resources and human resources concerned, but we didn't have the kind of policy planning leadership at the top, which we have now got in the last few years.
And Dr. Singh, sir, before I let you go, I have to ask you this. Will we see the Prime Minister at ISRO on the 23rd when the soft landing is going to be attempted? Any word on that?
That will be I think that will be too early for me to respond to. But whatever, Prime Minister is otherwise keeping a close watch, not only keeping a close watch and monitoring, he's also offering us valuable cues from time to time. And as I said, we owe it to him to a great extent. And I have no hesitation saying that. I mean, the entire scientific fraternity feels hugely enabled and emboldened now to give vent to their went-up aptitudes which had been lying dormant all these years.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We appreciate all the time and insight, Dr. Jitendra Singh, that you have taken out to speak to us. And I thank you right now. But I quickly want to take it to Dr. K. Sivan, who's been very patiently holding the phone line. And Dr. Sivan, thank you, sir, for all your patience.